And I understand that the five of you will tell us about the work that you've been doing and the hope that you can bring to the Middle East and also to communities here who are so desperately looking for that opportunity for hope. So thank you all for being here. You are going to share this microphone? Sure. At the same time? Yes, exactly.
We'll do a cappella. Exactly. Harmonies.
I'm going to get first.
Okay, thank you. I need a photo. I don't have my phone. It's somewhere else.
So
Should we get started? Yeah. Okay. So do you want me to?
So you have a microphone.
Oh, that's right. I have a microphone. Yeah, that's right. And it's on now. So I want to thank everyone from our temple for being here and other people from the community. My name is Sarah Rumbaugh. I sit on the Tacoma City Council, and I'm a member of our temple. And I want to thank Rabbi Gorbin for even thinking of me to be here today as a moderator. This is an issue I have been struggling with as an elected official, and it means a lot to me to be able to be here today to hear this conversation and have these wonderful, lovely people who are leaning in on this subject of peace here as well. And I thought it was interesting, the word warm peace was part of the mission, and I really appreciate that. So I thought if it was okay, I would start with something, and then we have some questions that have been planned. We want to get to know you. But my first thing is I think what something came up was the Abraham Accords. And everyone may not know, hi, I'll be honest, I did not know what the Abraham Accords was. And so I have a definition here I got. The Abraham Accords are a series of treaties normalizing diplomatic relations between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco, facilitated by the U.S. administration between August and December 2020. In the span of 5 short months, these 4 Arab states joined Egypt and Jordan in making peace with Israel. The agreements were called the Abraham Accords in honor of Abraham, the patriarch of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So the first question I've been asked is if you could just go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name's Dan Pfefferman. I'm the executive director of Sharaka. I live in Israel. I'm from Israel. And before we even get into anything related to the current moment, we're all in this long before, and when we talk about peace building, and I like how you stress the term warm peace, and I don't know if someone else noticed, Sarah mentioned the word normalization. Has anyone ever heard that word? It might sound crazy in an American context. Okay, imagine Canada is your neighbor here, right? How far away? 150 miles. Imagine if someone told you that you are not allowed to talk to Canadians and they are not allowed to talk to you. Okay? Not the governments, the people. It's illegal for you to even go speak to a Canadian, and the Canadian media does nothing but demonize the fine folks of Seattle, Tacoma, and Washington, and you're the source of all evils in the world, and et cetera, et cetera. Do that for 70 years, 75 years, and you're going to have built up problems in a region. Very few of them actually have anything to do with reality on the ground. My background is one of a Middle East and foreign affairs researcher and analyst, a writer, I'm a speaker. I did it in the Israeli military. I was a foreign affairs analyst in the Israeli military, and then I did it in the civilian world, in the academic world. And I'll tell the story as short as I can because they're sick of hearing me talk. I was so excited when the Abraham Accords were announced 3 years ago. And by show of hands, who here has heard of the Abraham Accords before today? Okay, a little more than half of you. We've been all over the United States for the last 3 years, and it's about 50-50 in the United States. And it's a shame, because it is the single greatest American bipartisan foreign policy achievement in the Middle East, at least in the last few decades, maybe in the modern era, that jump-started the Middle East on a path to stability and integration and prosperity. And it's all because of the United States. I was so excited by the prospect of having warm peace with our neighbors. We in Israel, people who have been to Israel know this well. People who haven't tend to have a big misconception about Israel and how Israel fits into the region. We're very much Middle Eastern. Our culture, our society is very much Middle Eastern. We sit on the Mediterranean, so it's a mix of East and West. More than half of Israelis immediately came to Israel from different Middle Eastern countries. My family came from Iraq, where they had lived for many thousands of years, and ended up in Israel after, unfortunately, being expelled from Iraq in 1950. And so Israel is in the Middle East, but it's cut off because of the conflicts, because of the ongoing wars, isolation, and the lack of normalization. So I hopped on a plane to Dubai, the first chance I had, and I had a week of nonstop getting to know different people from literally all over the Arab world who I could never meet before. And I got to know how diverse, how nuanced, how open-minded people were, how forward-thinking, and how many people were actually interested in getting to know me, and not because I'm interested, just because I'm Israeli. And they'd never met an Israeli before, or maybe they had, and they were excited about the possibility of this new Middle East and the technology and the culture, and they were asking me about Judaism and politics in Israel, and I was asking about Islam and the different societies around the region. Fast forward, we'll talk a little bit about what Sharaka does and how we got involved in it, but we're all doing this full time now, pushing towards regional integration, towards understanding and dialogue, and we are on the verge of truly a new Middle East. And the last sentence I'll say is, let's not let the October 7th massacre and the ongoing war, as difficult as it was perpetrated by radicals to derail peace. And let's not let them do that.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. My name is Ahmed Kazai. I come from a country called Bahrain, the second country on the list she mentioned signing with Israel, the Abraham Accords. Do you know where that is, by any chance? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Been there? Have you been there?
We're going to have a quiz at the end.
Okay, you should. Well, oh wow, she's one of us now. He always brags, he's from Morocco, and he always brags that there are many people from the audience been to Morocco or are from Morocco, so we don't get that a lot, so. Bahrain basically is only 20 minutes eastern of Saudi Arabia, in the Arabian Gulf. It's 780 square kilometers only, with 1.5 million population, out of which 750,000 are the locals. So between me and Fatima being here, that's half the population. So my name is Ahmed Kazai. I'm from Bahrain. I'm a political consultant by profession. Previously, I was a professor of international relations and a political history researcher in the Gulf. That being said, I have always wondered through my research, do I believe what I read, or do I have to see it with my own eyes? Especially things of controversial nature, like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. As Dan mentioned earlier, Israel has been in the region, in the heart of the Middle East, for the past 75 years. But was it really there? We know it is on the map, but our passports, on the first page, it mentioned until 2002 that we are allowed to visit any country of our choice in the world, except for 3: USSR, Cuba, and Israel. It was outlawed for us to speak to any Israeli. Of course, I come from a country with that hosts proudly the only indigenous Jewish population in the Gulf. Today, 37 left remaining. I had to meet them one by one to make sure the number is correct. Yet, we didn't know the others. From what we've seen on the media, from what we've read in books, and I said and mentioned earlier twice that I'm a researcher, so I should be fair in my approach. Until the Abraham Accords were signed and we were allowed to travel, and that's how I got to meet Dan. An amazing friend of mine from the Tel Aviv University introduced me to Dan, and from there he explained to me what Sharaka is, our NGO today. Sharaka in Arabic means partnership. Although on side notice, I have to tell you that most of the people who hear about it here calls it Shakira.
What does that mean?
She's a singer.
She's a popular singer.
A popular singer, and many people ask me if I got tickets to share. So, the other name we get is Shakara, which has no meaning, but anyway.
Yesterday we got Shakaraka.
Shakaraka, yeah, Shakaraka.
We have a restaurant called Shaka Bra here in town.
Ooh, we need to go take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was invited to come as a guest, and I kid you not, I was scared. I considered myself well-versed, well-traveled. I have lots of friends, Jewish friends, lots of bar mitzvahs, lots of weddings, gained a few pounds because of that, but never imagined that the day will come where I'll be able to visit Israel. And I was contemplating, shall I do it, shall I not? It was a taboo for all this time. But as a researcher, I thought it was a duty of mine to do it. And I did. But I gave this man a hard time. Will I be allowed in? He said, of course. Can I do this? He said, yeah. And then at the end, he said, just come over. Don't ask me anything. Come see for yourself. And so I did. Part of what I've seen is that just like any other country, in the Middle East or otherwise, it has its own issues. It's not a perfect state. It's a perfect state in the making, just like my country, just like any country in the world. We have issues, we fix them, we go along, and as we go along, we create new ones that needs to be fixed. That being said again, the first thing I saw on the streets was the trilingual signs outside the airport. And then I was like, Dan, he said, yes, we do have street signs here as well. They are all over. And I'm like, that jokes, you know? So I said, no, to me that's weird because it's trilingual. It's Hebrew, Arabic, and then English. I never expected to see Arabic in a street sign. What's normal to you is a big thing to me because I never expected that. And he said, I'm not going to say a word. I want you to see for yourself. I'm not saying that Arabs and Jews are getting along on every issue. I mean, I don't like my cousins, and that's okay. But I've seen them on the streets, on the buses. He made me take the bus. He made me go walk the streets, the Mechne Yehuda market, and all that. People walk side by side. I came to know that 20% of the population there are Arabs, between Muslims, between Jews, between Christians. It was not what I imagined it to be. Better. Sharaka, from there, of course, I came back home and then decided to join this mission of peace. As I said, we don't get along, we don't see eye to eye, and that's exactly what we should do. To avoid what we've been doing for the past 75 years and maybe get better and different results means we have to do things differently. We don't want to see bloodshed. I haven't met any person, a Muslim or a Jew, in Israel or outside, that prefers to be at a war and not sit home with his wife and kids and watch a match, maybe, for a change, except for two people that I know hate their wives. Sharaka actually created something different. It was not established by Israelis only. It's equally Israeli, Bahrainis, Emiratis, and Moroccans, which was something fresh. We focused on what you mentioned earlier as warm, on the warm peace. Jordan and Egypt signed agreements, peace agreements, with Israel prior to that. But those were referred to as cold peace agreements. They were meant to stop wars. Those two states were in a state of war with Israel for a long time. So that's what's meant there. But on people-to-people level, that was not there. That's what we're trying to do. Our states never engaged in a direct war with Israel. So that's one. Second, we don't know each other. So in order for us to achieve the approach we were talking about earlier, try it in a different manner to receive or get better results, or different results at least, was to engage the people. Through food, through music, through visits, through just getting on the same table and talk issues. We can't solve anything if we don't talk. If we keep on fighting, we'll just kill each other. I won't take much longer. I'll let my pals here continue the conversation, and we'll take it later on. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, my name is Naveen. I am Israeli Christian Aramaic citizen, live in the north of Israel in Upper Galilee in a village called Gush Chalav. It makes Christians and Arabs Muslims. In Israel we have 20% Arabs, 2% Christians and Aramaic. I grew up with my family. It was very complicated to know who we are. So we hear in the first hand a very sad story about our family, how they evacuate the village when the army, the Israeli Defense Forces, asked our forefathers to evacuate the village in Hiram operation in November 1948, and they promised our family that they can come back when the situation down, and they never come back. The other hand was that we know that before I born, my dad was a police officer, and he had an accident and he became disabled. And he usually say, thanks God that we are in Israel and not in other Arab country. So I didn't know who we are. I study in Arab school. It's the own system, not the same system that the other schools. It's different, special in the history. We study the history after the 7th century, so that it's after the Islamic forces attacked this land. We didn't know about the Independence Day. We know more about the Nakba and what happened after 1948 and during 1948. We didn't know about our flag. We know about the Palestinian flag, so it was very easy to introduce myself like a Palestinians Arab. But in 2004, I became a mom for a very nice baby called Ilyas, and he changed my life. When he was 10 years old, it was Memorial Day, and in this day, it's regular to hear the siren and to stand for a moment. And we didn't know about this day anything. I didn't remember that I can allow to ask about this day. I didn't also was sure that my parents also have something to share with me, like all the parents and all our community. And also in the schools, we didn't have also the answers about it. And when Ilyas asked in the same time why we hear the siren, the teacher answered that it's just to check if the siren is good. But he didn't believe, and he come back and waiting for me, and he asked, Mom, what was today? Why we hear the siren? Is it war? Because we like regular to hear during the war the siren. And also, I was very sad that I didn't have the answer. I just know that it's Memorial Day. In the same day, I was in the kindergarten with Jewish kindergarten in the kibbutz, and I was shy also to ask. I just see that they are standing and I am stand. But Ilyas was very interesting and want to know more. And together, we like check what is the Memorial Day. We have a lot of questions. We research. We was allowed in this day to research, not like before, and our father didn't have the chance to check and Google it, and become more like know our story, know more about the Jewish, about Israel, what was before the 7th century, asking a lot and know a lot that we didn't know before. I just know that I am not Arab. I am Aramean. Anyone know who is the Aramean? Not Armenian. I know that I am just become speaking Arabic after the Islamic forces attacked our land and the language become declined. And who know where Abraham from? Aram Naharaim. Who is Lebanon? Lebanon Aramaic. The Jewish and the Aramaic are the indigenous this land, and we are both spoke the Aramaic before. And Israel is the first and the only country that recognizes our identity as Aramaic. And we are very excited for it. And after that, I become a coexist behind our community to be involved and help our youth to understand, because we don't have a lot of options like in the schools and also in the community. So today I am the Director of Strategic Partnership behind our community, help the youth. I am lead the pre-military program for Christian and Jewish in the Sea of Galilee in Kibbutz Bet Zera, help the youth involved with the Jewish for 7 months, know more about the army, the Jewish know more about the Christian more know about the Jewish, speak the Hebrew well, because it's very important, we are in Israel. It's very unique project. They celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas together, Rosh Hashanah. I am Philos Advocacy Fellow, but I missed something that it was dream for me. I didn't serve in the IDF, and I feel that I will never join the army, but it was possible. I joined the army when I was 39 years old, few months before Elias, my son. And I was excited also to be in reserve during this war after October 7. And today I also excited to be with Sharaka. I just believe about this Abraham Accord, that it will be model for all the countries in the Middle East that still didn't have peace with Israel, and soon we will have with all this country, and we can be everywhere, and they also can come and visit Israel. Behind every border I have family there, and we wait for this moment, and we will share the truth about our land. And I will finish just to sing for peace in both language, Hebrew and Arabic. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם, סלام עלינו ועל כל העולם, סלام. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I mean, I don't have that. You got me off guard, geeks. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Youssef El Azari. I'm from Marrakesh, Morocco. Doesn't work? Okay. Sorry. So my story literally started when I first visited Israel. I don't come from a diplomatic or politics background. I am more from entrepreneurship and startups back in Morocco. So I cannot hide the fact that I learned a lot from these two geeks right here. The idea is that Morocco is well known for two things. Is the fact not only that we have good food, but also because we are the only country that has the biggest Jewish community in the Arab world. We have a rabbinic judicial law in our own constitution. We have Judaism besides Islam in our own constitution. I would say thanks to the king, because in a particular moment of time, we had to make a decision to preserve the religious integrity of Morocco. And I think he did a great job doing so. But I wouldn't deny also the fact that we are also a victim of propaganda coming from the Middle East, trying to demonize also Israel as the source of all misery in the world. A lot of Moroccans, they fell into this trap, and you can see that most of the people, they consume this kinds of news from the breakfast to the dinner, all the time, every day. And this made us a little bit or very polarized about the situation happening right now between Israelis and Palestinians. When I first visited Israel, it was really a life-changing experience. I didn't expect too much, to be honest, because I was very curious. I wanted to see by my eyes. And just as Ahmed said, I landed in Ben Gurion Airport. The second language was Arab. The one who did, I went in COVID period, so the one who made the COVID test was a veiled Muslim Israeli woman. I asked my friends, did I land in the right airport? I mean, what's this? And yeah, they told me this is Israel. It was really mind-blowing. And I always joke with my friends with it. I was like, am I stupid or Israel doesn't know how to do ethnic cleansing? Like, how come you have 20% of the population are Arabs? Like, this is apartheid failure. And I went there and I've met a lot of friends. I cannot deny the love I got. Whenever I tell them that I am from Morocco, they hug me for no reason. I think I've been hugged in Israel more than I've been hugged in Morocco. And then when I came back, okay, I went as a Youssef, who is from the startups background. I came back as the news tell me, as a Mossad agent. And I was like, wow, the propaganda is real. I really felt it as a Muslim Moroccan for the first time in my life, that they are telling me some things I am not. Telling me that I was trained in Erbil in Afghanistan. I still have this in YouTube, by the way. Telling me that I am a propagandist. I am paid a lot of money to do so. For the first time, I felt how the propaganda is so powerful to change people in a glimpse of a second. And I couldn't do anything about it because I was in a sector that is very far from this. And to my surprise, even my co-founder quit because I went to Israel. He said that I don't want my reputation to be stained with the Israeli reputation. And it was really like a slap in the face, like, wake up, like what you've done is really real. Like people, they show hatred for no reason, for just due to ignorance. After 2 months, I decided that I want to join the movement of at least tell the people the truth about the region. Sharaka can come up. They was very happy, I would say like Besheret or Karma. And I didn't hesitate to join them because I felt a lot of impact, a lot of influence. Because what we do exactly is that we don't share the content, or we are not pretentious to educate people. I feel that the knowledge is there. If the people want to know the truth, it's there. But what I loved about Sharaka especially is that we are really working on empathy. Because a lot of people, they think that curiosity builds empathy, which is totally false. For us, in our methodology, it's empathy that creates curiosity. And if you want to know someone, you have to be more empathetic to this person. And this is what we do, actually. We have organized one of the biggest Sharaka event in Morocco. I didn't sell it as, let's discuss the conflict, no. I tell them we have the best kosher food and the best music in this event, and a lot of people came. And when you see the Muslim community and the Jewish community talking together, people coming from Morocco, from Israel, all over the world, and discussing this, I felt a lot of pleasure, actually, doing this kind of job. Because this is what we need right now, especially in this very complex period. A lot of people, they are focusing on who is right and who is wrong, and a lot of people forget to talk about what's right now. I don't want our way as people right now, our way to hell to be paved with good intentions. A lot of Moroccans, they don't know they are championing. And everyone wants ceasefires, but please, at least give us the hostages, at least demilitarize Hamas, and that's a ceasefire, as easy as that. And we are always trying to do something for good, but we don't know how to do it, actually. I think we need to listen to each other, to trust each other. And I don't see any other way to bring peace to the region. So basically, that's my message in Sharaka, and I'm very happy to be here with you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Fatima Al-Harbi. I'm from Bahrain. The story of me getting into Sharaka actually was by a coincidence. I didn't plan it. I didn't want to work in this area of being attacked most of the time on social media. But Sharaka was just established and they invited me to go and visit Israel. I was fortunate to be in the first youth leaders delegation from Bahrain and UAE to go visit Israel. I was afraid, of course, because the only picture I have about Israel is the picture that we see on the media. And we all know the media, every media outlets have different special agenda to push, and it's mostly one narrative. Some of them are really extreme. So I went to Israel. We went directly to Tel Aviv. I was wearing my traditional clothing, that's the headscarf and the black abaya. So it's very obvious that I'm Muslim and Arab from certain parts of the world, the Gulf states. A complete stranger stopped us in the streets, me and my friends in the delegation, and asked us, "Can I ask you a question?" Sorry. And he said, "Are you from Bahrain or Dubai?" He knew immediately that we're not an Israeli, Arab, or Palestinian. He knew that we're from the Gulf states because of all the fuss happening in the social media and the media. And we answered back, Bahrain, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. And his answer was, "Welcome. We've been waiting to have peace with Arabs for a long time." I've never thought that I would be welcomed this way in Israel. I thought I'd be hated. People wouldn't like me being there because we've always grown up knowing that Jews hate us so much because we're Muslims and Arabs. And we supposed to hate them back because they're Jews and Israelis. But that wasn't the case. People were so welcoming, so friendly. I traveled a lot, but I've never received this much love, and like the love I received in Israel. A complete stranger stopped me in the street, welcoming me to Israel, taking pictures of me as if I was a celebrity. I saw my pictures all over the social media and Israeli channels. People, complete stranger, inviting me to Shabbat dinners. I can understand how Middle Easterns bond over food. They love their food. But then I found myself in a place that I want to, the people back home, to experience what I experienced. So I shared my trip over social media. I have tens of thousands of followers. I thought it's a good idea. People will see a familiar face, someone of their own, will relate to me and to my experience. But unfortunately, people didn't like it because they saw a different reality of Israel that they don't want to see. They weren't happy of me being there. People started attacking me, saying all sorts of hate speech you can imagine. They started saying I'm a terrorist, I'm a traitor, sorry. I'm a traitor, and that I am not a Muslim anymore. I should take this off. You don't need it anymore. They stripped me out of my identity. You're not Arab Muslim. You're not from this family. I hope you die. I received a lot of death threats. People hated me being there. But that, as much as it made me sad, that made me stronger because I wanted to advocate for peace. I went there with curiosity. I left with a special agenda of wanting to bring people together. When I went to Israel, I met Jews, Druze, Muslim, Christians, Palestinians, Arabs. I met everyone. I went to different cities in Israel. I went to pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque. They always told us, you as an Arab and Muslim, you can't get into the mosque without getting beaten, and they won't allow you to pray. But I went there by myself with no security, because they always say, oh, you had security, like if I was a real celebrity. But I was there, I prayed. So I wanted people back home to know the reality. Because why do we need to hate each other? I found that Israelis don't hate me because I'm an Arab and Muslim. And since then, I've been advocating for peace. Thank you.
So thank you all for introducing yourselves, and you all have these just amazing stories. But I wanted to start with Ahmed. You're the Director of Political Affairs for Sharaka. And please give us an overview of the current geopolitical reality. We hear a lot about Hamas, obviously. Who are they and what are their goals? How do they fit into the regional picture of radical Islamist movements in Iran? On a more positive note, there has been discussion about new countries joining the Abraham Accords and discussion of Saudi Arabia normalizing relations with Israel. What can you tell us about these developments? That's a lot, I know, but,
How much time do I have?
well, what time is it, by the way? 11:46. 5 minutes.
I thought 2 hours, but okay.
Cancel your lunch plans.
And dinner plans. Well, I start with the regional outlook, and then I'll go to
10 minutes, okay.
No. 3 minutes. I'll do my best. Now, the region as it is today, as we said earlier, I mean, whenever we think of the Middle East, we think of a war zone, we think of a hotbed of genocides, basically famine, turbulences, nothing stable, and lots of killings. Isn't that right? So why all of that is happening? It's all a war on resources. There's no poor country in the Middle East. I mean, I'll start with Sudan, for example. Sudan should be the richest country in the world. They have enough cattle to feed the world for 30 years. Whatever is beneath the ground is even more and more and more, between gold, silver, uranium, you name it, they have it. So it's all a war on resources. That's the most important thing we have to understand about the Middle East. Between the colonization time back in the past until today, back then it was people from outside wanting to have those resources. Until today, local groups fighting amongst themselves to get the most out of it. If you have the resources, you have the power. If you have the power, you have the control. So many use religion as a tagline to get whatever they want to do. And that's the story as is. We as Arabs in the Gulf, on the eastern side of the Gulf, we have Iran, who was once upon a time the Persian Empire. Up north, we have the Turkish, who once upon a time were the Ottoman. And then we have the smaller countries. Us in the Gulf, for example, historically we were Bedouin. And the Persians were the civilization itself. So they look down at us from bloodline, ethnic kind of way, thinking that we are beneath them. That's why they say, we will take you back one day. And that's where the whole story started in '79 with the Islamic Revolution in Iran. I mean, the tagline, it's Islamic, but in reality, no. Why? They have a constitution that clearly states that the borders as we know it today are not real. They created something called the RCG, GC, CG. Okay. The Revolutionary Guard. Basically, their mission is to make sure that this border keeps on expanding. Why? In the name of God, in the name of basically spreading the word of God as per the Shia. And by the way, I come from a Shiite family myself. So I'm not just creating words and hating them. They have been claiming my country, Bahrain, as their own for the past 180 years, saying that it's the 14th state of Iran. That was solved by the United Nations in '71, but with the new revolution, they said, nope, we take it back, Bahrain is ours. And they started spreading proxies around the Middle East. Started with the Houthis in Yemen. In my country, we have around 50 groups that are financed by Iran, openly. It's not a secret. Then in Saudi Arabia, Eastern Province, then a little one in Kuwait, 350 groups in Iraq only, the Syrian regime, Hezbollah, and Hamas. Now, all of those groups, beside Hamas, are Shia, except for Hamas, which is a Sunni group. So what's the link? Back in the 50s, when the founders of the first Shia political party was established in Iraq, the Islamic calling, Hizb ut-Dawah, the founders of that party, they said it themselves that they were part of the Islamic Brotherhood movement in Egypt. And they were an offshoot. Since they didn't have a manifesto, they adopted that one. Hence, the Shia and the Sunnah on that front became one. Now, with Hamas, they adopt the Islamic Brotherhood teachings the Islamic Brotherhood, of course, from Egypt. Yet, they created a manifesto of their own. Now, they are jihadists. They call themselves freedom fighters who want to free the land of Palestine, which is known today as Israel. Their first and foremost important article in their manifesto is that they want to annihilate all Jews and retain all lands. How? In the way they are acting today. But as I'm talking about political background kind of checklist here, today they became the government, the official government of of Gaza. But after October 7th, we have to ask ourselves a question. Was that act of terror that happened on October 7th conducted by the government of Gaza as a government entity ruling that territory or country even, or are they a militia trying to achieve their manifesto? Answering that question has been very difficult. Nobody can answer it, as far as I know, people that I met, but it's a huge controversy. Are we dealing with a government that incited an act of war, or are we dealing with a militia that started terror? So how would Israel act? That's as short as that as good. So
That's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to have you pass it to Fatima.
Sure.
And so my next question, you sort of were alluding to some of this in talking about the things that happened to you on social media. Can you hear me? Okay, now you can hear me? Thank you for letting me know that, because I can't always tell. So basically I was saying that you sort of alluded to some of the stuff that happened to you with social media, and I was wondering if you could just go into, you were harassed online for daring to show sympathy for the Israeli victims of the October 7th massacre, and then harassed again after watching the raw footage and talking about your feelings and condemning what Hamas did as anti-Islamic. Tell us about what you saw and how you, as a traditional observant Muslim, viewed it.
Of course. When the 7th of October happened, of course, I shared my feelings and that I grieve for the victims that died, killed that day. And people, of course, didn't like it. They didn't want me to sympathize with the victims just because they're Israelis, although there were Israeli Muslims also, not Israeli Jews only. There were Israeli Muslims, foreigners, different religions. People didn't want me to sympathize with them. But I don't care. I'll say whatever I want to say. And people didn't like it. So fast forward, we got to watch raw footage of the security cameras and the Hamas terrorist GoPros that they had on them, on their chests, on their head. So this is unpublished. We got to see it in the consulate. And we got to see horrific things. I don't want anyone to see, because it was hard for me watching it. I couldn't breathe most of the time. I cried. We all cried watching it because it was not blurred. We could hear everything they say on the Hamas cameras. It was fluent Arabic. We could understand what they're saying, what they're planning to do with women, with children. And I got to see that they killed innocent people in their beds, wearing their pajamas, kids, women, also soldiers. I saw the killings. I saw the beheadings. I saw children crying over their dead father. They're filled with blood on their pajamas, and they're crying that their father just died in front of them. And the Hamas terrorist, what was he doing? Drinking from the fridge while the kids were crying, 8 and 10 years old. So after that, the Daily Wire interviewed me after watching the video to get the real feeling and reaction for the video. So I shared my feelings. And then after my first visit to Israel, I got attacked on social media. But after this interview, you can multiply it by 100 times. people hated me so much just because I had sympathy for the victims. And they're like, what about this? What about that? Why you're saying this? And I'm like, a normal human being act, you should have sympathy for a human being getting killed, no matter they're Palestinian or Israeli, Muslim or Jew. This is normal human being. And for me as a Muslim, seeing those acts being done in the name of Islam annoys me even more, because they say Allahu Akbar, and now no matter anyone says Allahu Akbar, you think of something bad is going to happen next, because they use the name of God doing the killing or the rape and killing the children. But it's a beautiful thing for us as Muslims, saying Allah is great, and that's what we use in our prayer. It's something beautiful, and our Islam is beautiful, but they use our Islam in a bad way, and they show this to the world. And they're not shy. They had cameras. They wanted to show the world. And this breaks my heart that the Israeli government don't want to share the videos, because respecting the victims and their families, but in the same time, people keep saying, oh, there's no proof. No, there's no proof. This didn't happen, or the Israelis did it, or whatever. No, I saw the proof. I'm Muslim and I'm Arab. I saw the proof. By my own eyes, I heard what they're saying, and it's real Arabs. We can differ between Palestinian, Syrian, Bahraini. We can differ from the dialect. And I heard the proof. I saw the proof, and I can't unsee it. And this also breaks my heart, that people back home, when they want to sympathize with the victims, they get attacked also. I know a person that are very famous on social media, and she's very anti-Semitic, and she hates Israelis. But on the 7th of October, she said, it breaks my heart seeing victims, children and women getting killed on the 7th of October. People attacked her so much and boycotted her business and wanted to silence her. They don't want people to talk. It's either with us or you're against us. And that's what's happened with me, but I stand strong with my opinion.
Thank you for sharing that. I have to tell you that I've only read about it. I have not seen a video. Thank God I haven't, because I can barely sleep at night thinking about what happened to these innocent people. Thank you for sharing that. Yosef, what are your views on the history of the Arab world and the international community's engagement with Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and why has it not worked, in your opinion, until now? What else needs to be done?
I think that there is a lot of Again? Okay. Thank you for this reminder. I think that there is a lot of misconception about the region, and I feel that there is a political will to sustain the war and to make it like that. And because a lot of actors, like a lot of stakeholders are benefiting from it, especially the terrorists, because for them war is a revenue stream actually. In terms of media, I feel that the news outlets, like, they did their best to create a very polarized world. Historically speaking, we as Moroccans, we've never known about a lot of things that happened in Israel, for instance. Like, we only knew about the Nakba, we only knew the things that for those news outlets, they needed to infuse them in our communities, like the Israelis are bad, the Israeli killed your fellow Muslim Palestinians. But we've never knew about a lot of things about how the society of Israel is very inclusive and how they have welcomed a lot of Muslims. They are working right now in their communities. How also those terrorists that we champion in our community, they created more wars in Lebanon, in Jordan, etc. I feel right now that the problem is mainly in social medias, transited from the media to social media, because a lot of people right now, they don't even do an effort to understand the region. And they feel that also, and I will say it bluntly, nobody cares about the Palestinians. Even the people who are marching on the streets saying that they are pro-Palestinians and want ceasefire. Because the first reflection, I say, if you really care about them, you would visit them. If you want to talk about Israel, you would visit it. I don't know since when we made it very mainstream to talk about a country that we've never visited. It is very important to highlight this. Like, if someone tells me that Morocco is bad, I'll say, have you visited? Okay, let's move to another topic. This is very simple to me. You cannot talk about something that you've never been there. That's one. The second thing, which is, have you ever got to see, for instance, what Fatima has said about what happened in October 7th, for instance? Because I think a lot of people, they discredit this type of content. I will tell you a story. At that day, we were doing volunteering work to respond to the earthquake happening in Marrakesh. As is Sharaka, we have built some toilets, and we wanted to give them to Adwar as a donation. And also we were preparing for a delegation going to Israel, Moroccans going to Israel. Same thing, same day. That was October 7th for us. And I was really, I was awake that day very early, and I saw all the messages popping up. Not from the Israeli side, because also I want to know what I am also in those Hamas groups on Telegram, just the share news. And they were their official accounts sharing those videos. So I found it very funny how people right now, they discredit this type of content, that it never happened. This is just propaganda. If the people believe that the propaganda is real, then why don't you believe that the propaganda happened to you as well? And this is something that we really need to understand right now. Because I feel that we are not very, we are not really fair to how we consume media. Some people, they tell lies, some people, they don't. And we need to be skeptical to all the media that we are consuming right now. You are going to ask me right now, what's the solution? How can we counter this? I don't think it's just only about a content that will counter it and give more proofs, because in any way, you're going to disprove me, right? But for me, what I think, and this is also the answer to your second question, which is how can we overcome this? I don't believe in any short-term solution. That's the bad news. But the only good news, a solution might be a very long-term one. You know, back in the days, the Israeli content was blocked in our cable channels. In Arab countries especially, you are not allowed to highlight or to do something that is cultural. We didn't know even about the Israeli singers. Like I started to discover them every day through Dan, giving me that, oh, do you know this, do you know that? And right now we have open platforms. You name them, Netflix, Hulu, and all that. And I saw the success, for instance, of Fawda, which is an Israeli TV show, in the Moroccan societies. They love actions. And at the same time, you see this empathy that they were built with the IDF and the Palestinians, and how they care about each other, that these kinds of values that they were transmitted through a fiction. This is something very important to highlight here. Because we tend to think that dialogue is the key. Yes, it is the key. But are we ready to do that, to do a conversation? Because I feel that every time I'm talking to a fellow pro-Palestinians, they're like, no, this is just lies, what you are saying. So I think we don't have the framework yet to talk. And in order to build this framework, we need something that brings us together. I always say this joke. A lot of people right now from the Palestinian side or from the pro-Palestinian side, they tend to hate Ben Shapiro, for instance. I like him personally sometimes. But I don't recall no one who hates, for instance, Gal Gadot. Nobody. Who is an Israeli actor, and everyone loves Wonder Woman. And this is something very important to highlight here, is that food, as Ahmed said, cinema, music, this is what really brings us together. And in Sharaka, we've been doing this for so long to give the curiosity later on. We are building this empathy to bring people together again. And for me, that's the solution. I understand how it's very difficult for you to discuss, but just tell yourselves, we don't have the framework yet. And we are not ready yet for it. But at least, let's not discourage us from creating events like that bring us together, and the result will follow. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really basically about culture, bringing cultures together.
As a mean to bring us
Right.
together, exactly.
Yeah, thank you. It's Naveen. Okay. As a member of the Israeli Arab community with family in the West Bank, Gaza, and Lebanon, please share your personal experience in living as a minority in Israel and dealing with extremist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. What do Israeli Arabs and minorities think about the October 7th attack, and where do they stand regarding their support or criticism for Israel today?
So I told you that behind every border I have a family, When the Israeli Defense Forces attacked the churches in Gaza, we was very worried about the family there. I just can share with you that the Christian there, and I think not only the Christian or the like Palestinian there, they don't take care about what happened in October 7 and what will happen after. So it's for them, it's not October 7, it's Tufan al-Aqsa. It's October 8. We just know after the church were attacked that the Hamas was there behind the churches, and it was like very important for Hamas to keep the Christian also there during the war and before, just because to share with the world that also the Christians were attacked by the Jewish and not just the Hamas. They asked a lot to leave Gaza before October 7. During all the last 75 years, they didn't allow them to move. They talk about 1,500 Christian there, but only we have 150 Christian there. We are very worried about them. A lot were die and killed by to destroy the places near the churches and the hospital. We found under behind the church a tunnel, so it's make it dangerous. For me, one that live in the north of Israel, and I have very big family and community in Lebanon, we just feel how much they worried about the war between Hezbollah and Israel. October 7, it's very important, and it was very difficult for the Maronite community in Lebanon because the same genocide that happened in October 7 happened before with our community in the Moor genocide in 1976. And people that still alive from this time, they can share that they have the same scenario again, and they usually say and told and they try to explain for the world that it will happen again more and more. And it was very difficult to share the story again and this scenario again. It's not a good time to have war, and the situation is very bad. We just, the last few years, try to help our community that they missed medicine. They don't have electric, they don't have water. We try to help them with our bishop that live in Israel, and he allowed to move the border from Rosh Nikra. And Hezbollah, when he know that he have a lot of money and medicine for just our community and sometimes for the Druze there, they attacked our bishop, take the money, take the medicine, and keep the bishop there for 5 months, cannot allow to come back. It's Hezbollah, it's not the government there. He lead for the war, and they are very worried about what will happen. It will be more difficult. They feel just they cannot have more difficult. We pray maybe will not happen. The problem that again Hezbollah, it's not in a place far than the Maronite from the Christians. He everywhere. And he sent missiles everywhere. He tried to be in Nirmesh and try to fight, the Christian try to fight with Hamas, not to send missiles. We don't need to be part of this war. And I just can share also about both sides in Hezbollah and also Hamas. What Hamas did for keep citizens in Gaza. And what Israel did for keep citizens. In Israel, in both sides, the south and the north, more than 80,000 people were evacuated. They are in hotels, paid for everything. The government paid everything about these people that were evacuated. Tried to take care about everything. They didn't share the movie just before the citizens. They didn't share what happened and how many homes were destroyed in the north. And a lot of kibbutz and moshavs, I think that they will not be allowed to go back in the few years, like it will take a lot of time to build again, just because they take care about the citizen. And in Gaza, you can see that Hamas is in the tunnel. All the money that they received from all the Arabs war, they just use the money for missiles and rockets and to have tunnels. And I was allowed to go to Gaza like a few weeks ago and see where is the tunnels. It's under the hospital, under the mosques, under the schools, and also under the cemetery. So you cannot like imagine that they can do that. And the citizen was killed, a huge number was killed. That's why we hear about a huge number killed there, and in Israel also, like we feel that it's more than like what happened there. But we feel that the government take care about us, and there the militia, how Ahmed say, they don't take care about not the Lebanese, not the Palestinian in Gaza, and all the money just used for tunnels in the two sides and the missiles and the rockets. So I am really very excited and proud to be in Israel, like Israeli citizen. I am happy that my family chose to stay in Israel, because in 1948 they have the two options, or to stay in Israel or to leave to Lebanon, and the families was split up, and like half were in Lebanon. And when we share with our family how the life in Israel, they really very proud about us, and they just say why we didn't stay here in Israel.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dan, can you talk a little bit more about your organization? And then I want to ask you about something about Hamas that's a little bit more of a question that maybe they wouldn't want to take.
Sure. So we're a nonprofit, non-governmental, and I say half jokingly, unless you consider being pro or anti-peace a political position, we're also non-political. I mean that in the Israeli context, in the American context, we are a nonpartisan organization. We're based simultaneously in Israel, in the Gulf, and Morocco. We have volunteers and advisory board members from Pakistan to Morocco, and many people around the US and Europe who are expats from different Middle Eastern and South Asian, North African countries. And we're trying to build a new movement here. We have different programs, a lot of them based on education. We really try to get away from anything simplistic or propagandistic. Come see for yourself, come talk to people for yourself, come interview people. So we try to build programs that bring journalists and intellectuals and influencers to Israel. We try to take Israeli influencers to the different countries. We have programs bringing imams and rabbis together for faith-based discussions, including here in the United States. We started connecting with African-American imams here in the United States who were curious to come learn about Israel and act as bridges of peace. And we connected them with settler rabbis who were curious to also get to know them and help lower tensions. And we're working now on a second conference to bring them together in Morocco and to learn from the Moroccan experience of Judaism and Islam and how they can get along. Our biggest program deals with actually Holocaust education in the Arab and Muslim world, because it's not something that's taught. It's often either denied or just ignored in the Arab world, and we bring the example not just of the Holocaust and the historical reality of it, but how a people can be so demonized and vilified to the point of the greatest genocide in world history. We talk about other genocides too, and we talk about the Yazidi genocide, and we talk about other genocides taking place in recent history, and how do we build more inclusive, tolerant societies in our regions. So that is a big program that we had to unfortunately put on hold. We had a group coming on October 8th. We had another, and now hopefully we'll get back into it.
So that's just a little bit about what we do. And of course, we go all around the United States. The place that should be bringing people in the Middle East together is so polarized and divided now. And so we're trying to help educate and enlighten and bring people together here in the United States.
So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions from the audience. I did, but I got told I needed to do questions. So.
Appreciate you guys for coming to Tacoma. Tacoma's, as you just mentioned, dealing with lots of pernicious polarization, bordering on violent extremism, and we've seen it in recent times. I do have like 2 questions, but I'm just going to start with the first one because being that you guys are an NGO, I'd be curious to hear your answer to this question. As I know, peace building, a big part of it is strengthening relationships between communities and governments. Has Sharaka ever been involved in this kind of work? And if so, do you have any strategies that have worked for you that you'd be willing to share? I know you're over political relations.
Repeat, can you reframe the question?
Do you guys ever strengthen relationships between communities, including them in conversations with governments, being a bridge between communities and governments?
Between communities and governments?
Yes,
So
citizens.
countries, you mean?
Everyday citizens speaking with the government.
You know, we work within the Abraham Accords countries. We work closely with our governments, but we don't represent them. And we have the freedom to say and do what we want. Of course, we're all proud citizens of our countries. That doesn't mean we like every political position our countries do, but we're proud citizens of our countries. That's us. Of course, there are people who are involved in our work that are very much against their countries, like Lebanon and Syria, because they're not allowed to do what we do. But we the core group, are. I'm not sure how to answer that exactly as far as bringing people together with the governments. I think
Government officials.
Yeah, where it's relevant, you know, we're happy to have people connect with the government. Again, we don't want things to get political. Too many things say take a left-wing or a right-wing position on things, and then it becomes divisive, right? So we always say we're happy to work with the government, but we try to, if we do anything, for example, when we bring any groups to Israel and we meet with a politician, if we're going to meet someone to the right, we're going to meet someone to the left.
Yeah.
And we're going to meet with Arabs, and we're going to meet with Jews. We're going to meet the religious, and we're going to meet the secular. I don't know if you guys want to answer it from.
I would say also that we are aligned with our own governments in a sense that before I started this work, I had to talk with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and to see what's their politics and policy all over the region. One of them, for instance, that I just learned is that Morocco preached for a two-state solution and all that, and I had to be aligned to all the information I've been given. Just I wanted to highlight something very important. We as Sharaka, as Dan said, we are non-governmental organization. Still, we prepare the framework for officials,
Right.
like diplomats, like government, to at least to have a content. Like for instance, when the king recently went to UAE, for instance, or when were 2 diplomats they met from different countries, at least they have stories that we are trying to build. Like, for instance, bringing a delegation of Muslims to Auschwitz, for instance, in the March of the Levant period, or to bring, for instance, imams from America to go to Israel, for instance. This is the kind of stories that can enhance the dialogue between diplomats and officials.
Exactly. I'm happy you're doing that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Since you answered this question, I do want to direct the next one to you because you spoke on this, actually. What are some strategies you've utilized to bring about more empathy across wounded and polarized communities? I know you're saying we don't really have a framework yet, but you spoke about cinema, you spoke about music, food. What are some other things that have worked for you?
I mean, the other, okay, besides this one already, because I think that it takes a lot of energy from us to do so, like organizing events around music and food and all that. But I think one of the most important tools that we use a lot are they, and I would say it here, it's the, like the how can I phrase that? It's like the people that really wants to have peace are the one that we focus on the most. In a sense that sometimes we feel that we are preaching to the choir, but in the same time, we feel that we enhance a lot the voices of the people that they want peace. And this is also some of our strategies. Like if you go to our Instagram in Sharaka NGOs, you will see that we take those voices and we enhance them in our channels, exactly because this is the right of not only the content, but we feel that in their message there's a lot of empathy. And this is very important thing to highlight. So we have a set of tools, as you say that, and as I say that, like this is really big for us. Like those are big projects. Like we are sometimes confrontational when we organize delegations, but in the same time we do it an indirect impact through those events that really creates a synergy. And yeah.
I'll get to your point because I think it's a really good one. You have to everything's all about kind of identity politics today, and people don't want to believe. You know, so like, I don't know how many, we've had a few times when just, you know, I can literally give you verifiable 100% facts, but we had a gentleman in an audience last week who just didn't even want to listen. And he was arguing with me about things that he's never seen or done or been to. And, you know, I hate pulling the, you know, you can't argue, you can't win an argument by authority. Like, I know and you don't. I have a degree and you don't. I hate doing that, and I'm trying to explain to him, listen, you're telling me things about Israel, you've never been there, and you're telling me things, and I'm explaining to you from absolutely verifiable fact, and you're telling me you don't know, you're blind. So, right, so how do you, we try to build bridges across kind of the medium and try to bring people who are, to expand that camp of people who are listened to by as many people as possible. And we try to either talk to them here in the United States, or the next step is try to get people, you know, who are influencers, who are journalists, who are thinkers, who are community leaders, come see for yourself. And so how do we build that? That's kind of how we work.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've had the pleasure of living on Miskavam, on the border of Lebanon, and on Kibbutz Gevim, which is in the Gaza envelope. So been there, done that in a different October. What can we do here to get involved in what you're doing? Because the most important conversation that we can have is here. So how do we join in what you're doing?
I'll give you 4 points. 3 have to do directly with us, and 1 is something that maybe it's a mindset, okay? So as we always say, when everyone says, how can they help us, how can they join us, okay? 3 points is 1, we're a nonprofit. If anyone wants to actually support what we're doing, we have brochures, but that's not why we're here today. 2, if you have any connections to audiences who you'd like to arrange for us to speak to in the future via virtual meetings, etc., we're always open to it. We do a lot of US speaking tours. 3, if you have media connections and you want to help us get kind of this message out there or have us interviewed or have, forget even us, just positive stories about people actually getting along and dialoguing, etc. The media keeps focusing on negative. Do you know how hard it has been for us to get coverage of the kind of programs we do, where people are coming together and discussing and learning about each other? It's shockingly hard. The mainstream media doesn't want to do it. It's, forget the Arab world media, it's been really Jewish media that likes to cover this kind of stuff. And even then, it's not been so easy. So those 3 things. Unrelated to us, you have to build relationships and listen to the people who you think you disagree with before you have the disagreement. First, build that human connection, that they see that you're a real honest person, and you see that they're a real honest person, and then once that relationship is built, then you can have the difficult conversations. So
if I may, I'll take the microphone. Thank you. And hi there, everyone. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but I will introduce myself at the end. So my name is Randy Kessler. Rabbi Gorban mentioned me. I'm pleased to have been one of the people involved in arranging for the Sharaka delegation to be here. And unfortunately, I'm stepping up right now because we really do need to bring this event today to a close. Why? Because of exactly what Dan said. We have an appointment with the media. So Sharaka will be interviewed by Ari Hoffman, who's on KVI 570. They'll be interviewed also by Jason Rantz on AM 770. And to show that it's not just the conservative talk radio stations, they're also going to be on Northwest News Network, which is Como 1000. And we're working on actually arranging, hopefully, a couple of other media appearances while they're here in town. So for those of you who would like to, who were inspired by what you heard and want to share Sharaka with others, one other way you can help is by encouraging people to see their other speaking events here in the Seattle-Tacoma area. So tonight at Bikr Cholim Machzike Hadath, which is an Orthodox synagogue in the Seward Park neighborhood of Seattle, they'll be speaking tonight at 7:30. Tomorrow at 12:30 in the afternoon, they're speaking at Seattle University, and that will actually be streamed live on Zoom. So anybody who doesn't want to leave their house but does want to hear Sharaka will be able to tune in. And how would you get that information? I guess you can you can look at Stand With Us Northwest's Facebook page, and there will be information up there, or you can come talk to me afterwards, or Rabbi Gorban has my information. And then last but not least, on Friday night, Sharaka will be appearing at Hillel at the University of Washington, the Jewish student organization, and they'll be speaking there Friday night at 7:30 p.m. So any students or any members of the public that's interested in going there as well, it's open to the public, and you are welcome to attend. And with that, as much as I hate to say it, we need to bring this afternoon to a close, so please give them a warm round of applause. And we're going to get them up I-5 and stay tuned. Thank you very much, everyone.